What is going on in Atlanta? Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris are still riding the struggle bus, and along with them, we got a few closers like Tanner Scott and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Wadney. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify, that allows 5-star ratings and reviews. We would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. And lastly, but what's most important, if you need that competitive edge over your league mates in your fantasy baseball league, Matt and I got you covered. Join us on the Insider Track, where you're going to get exclusive access to Matt and I, where you're going to get text message alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this podcast. Link is in the bio wherever you're listening, watching, and available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, Matt, we were talking about guys riding the struggle bus, and today's episode is must-drop players. Now, they're not all going to be must drop, but, we're going to talk about a bunch of great names and tell you where they fall on the drop it like it's hot-o-meter. And all right, Matt, who do we got up first today, my brother?
All right, so we got first Mr. Ozzie Albies of the Oakland Athletics.
Atlanta Braves.
Okay. Atlanta Braves. I'm having a day. All right. We're going to start it off like this. Sounds good. So the Atlanta Braves playing second base, and quite honestly, look, we're all really upset with his performance. He had high draft capital. He's not really returning on the pick, so there's no ROP. But there is some light, and this is why he is not a drop for me. Outside of the fact that he did cost us a lot, and to drop him or to, do anything and give him away for cheap will just not give you return on that pick at this point. I'd rather hold and see what the investment can kind of give me. I'd rather die with him on my team than him bouncing back on another team. So that's my, fantasy manager take on it. Now, here's what I see for the future. Ozzie Albies over the last 2 weeks through 36 at-bats, 6 runs, 3 ribs, batting .361. Over the last week, he continues that hot streak with 2 runs, 2 ribs, batting .412. In the outing today, as we record on May 29th, he has batted .250. So he's still making contact with the ball, and it gets me all excited. Now, you look under the hood, and things don't seem too out of characteristic. Yes, the average exit velocity is a little bit down by like 2.5 miles an hour. The ex-Woba and things are a little bit down, but at least the launch angle is still intact. He's not really whiffing or striking out. He's just chasing. And that's all fun and dandy. That's what happens. These are the kind of things you see when a guy is just trying to get a slump buster and trying to figure things out. So the second that slump is break, I think we're going to see a guy catching some stride and keep going. So, I'm definitely not upset with it. And you look at even his walk to his strikeouts, 18 walks to 35 strikeouts. I'm really not upset with the performance as a whole. I'm just upset he's not producing out on the stat line and helping my team win every week. But I think it's imminent that it's here. He's more of a buy low target than he is a drop. So, I'm not really trying to get rid of him. I'm trying to acquire him at this point. So if you got stuck with a Simeon or maybe another guy like Terang that kind of not as performing up to par anymore, you want to go out and trade for Albies at this point, not really drop him.
Yeah, so we're not on the same page, but reading the same book. I'll say it like that, because I do like Albies, and like you said, we paid so much for him, so he's definitely not a drop. But I think I'm actually going to take the other side of the approach here, and I might be trying to look to get rid of Albies. And I know, obviously there's not a lot to go off of here because the numbers don't look super sexy this year. But I was a little bit lower on Albies in the consensus. I still did have him as a top 5 second baseman, but I think I had him around 4. It's just he hasn't been the guy that, he was at the beginning of his career. Like the last 4 years, was only one solid year. I know he's been banged up for most of those years, but it's kind of taking its toll on him and starting to show a little bit. I think, as I said, the last, 4 seasons, he's only hit over 251 once. And that was the 2023 All-Star season, which was he's very good. He's still only 28. But I'm probably not trading him in dynasty formats, but redraft leagues, if you have another option, if you picked up a second baseman that's been good, I know it's been a tough time. I'd probably be looking to move on, but if you don't, he's your only guy, you're probably going to have to die on the sword on this one, man. Because, he does have a lot of upside, and if you're not going to be able to acquire anything like another second baseman or something like that, then you got to just kind of fall on it and, just hope that Ozzie Albies self-corrects himself here and figures this thing out. Let's move on to this next guy. And, Matt and I are on the total ends of the spectrum. We flip-flop these two guys because I
got it right here.
I'm gonna preach one thing, and I know Matt's gonna go the exact opposite way. Basically, what Matt said about Albies is what I'm gonna say about Harris here. Is that I kind of want to buy. I want to buy on Harris. He's been showing signs of life lately, and he's a notoriously slow starter. He's had, I'm going to pull up his splits for you here, but I know he's been a bad starter throughout his career. He hasn't been good at the beginning of the seasons. But like I said, in life a little bit, a bunch of multi-hit games of late. It's the last game. Well, actually, I think this is today as we're recording. They're playing 2 games, 2 for 4. An RBI in the first game, couple of good games on May 22nd, 2 RBIs and a steal, 2 RBIs again on the 24th. They've been moving him around in the lineup. He's kind of been sitting between that 6 and 9 spot. Don't think he's ever going to get back up to that leadoff, especially with Acuna back now. But the whole thing is, guess who's batting behind him now? Acuna. And that turnover in that lineup is really good. He actually does have 31 RBIs already on the season, which is a lot, 9 steals. I think it's going to go the opposite way. The RBIs are going to come down a lot. The runs are going to be a lot better. The power, I think he taps into a little bit here. I think he gets back on like a 25-ish home run pace the rest of the way. And he's still only 24 years old. I just don't see the reason to give up on, Harris at this point in his career when he's still so young. But before I do pass this over to Matt, I do got his splits pulled up for his career. Yes. So April, March, 262, 6 homers, 13 steals for his career. That's pretty good. But then you look at May, 191 in his career, 4 homers, 9 steals. Doesn't really hit his stride until later in the season, because then you look at June, career 333 guy, 9 homers, 8 steals, 32 RBIs. You go to August, 310 hitter in his career, 11 home runs, 12 steals, 41 RBIs. And then you look at September, October, 304 hitter, 19 home runs actually during that time stretch in his career, and 6 steals. So he has shown throughout his career he's better in the second half. He's young. I don't think he's a drop in any league at all. Maybe if you're playing a super shallow, like an 8-man, where there's really, there's everything's out there on the waiver wire. Maybe it's that. Anything deeper than that, I'm probably holding, and I want to buy on Harris right now if I can.
Okay, hold on. Let me for dramatic effect here.
The Haterade. If you guys aren't watching on the tubes, Matt's chugging the Haterade
and tossed it. So listen, let's just go over all of the excuses I've heard from Michael Harris on this podcast and others, because I'm tired of hearing them. That's the thing, right? So, he's never had an opportunity to hit in a good spot in the lineup. He's just a slow starter. He just all these excuses. But look, he got the opportunity. He got the opportunity this year. He played in the Acuna spot. Couldn't do diddly with it. Okay? I'm sorry. Now he's getting moved around in the lineup even before Acuna was up because he couldn't do it. He is always going to be a guy that we wish coulda, woulda, shoulda did it, and just always coulda, shoulda just disappointed you. So Michael Harris for me is a guy that I'm trading away. The value is still there because there's guys like Dom that, oh my God, he still got it. He still got it. He doesn't got it.
Sell me Michael Harris. If you anyone that's in my league, I'll take him.
I got you. If I had him, because I'm not stupid and I didn't draft him, he would be already on your team, because I'm not a fan. I don't think it's ever going to come to fruition until maybe he goes to a different team, sees a therapist about how he can start off hot, and maybe take 6 months at Driveline, and then we could maybe talk, because my guy just isn't getting it done. So I don't know what it is. Maybe his birth certificate really just means he's 42. I don't know. I just, nothing is working for him. So with Michael Harris, I'm out. Just move him. He will get a trade done. You will get an asset. Just move him. Get him off your team. Okay? Done. I'm done with it. Coming up next after my amazing rant just now, we got guys like Brent Doyle. How should we handle the insufficient play because of his personal life? We got Matt Chapman, who I don't know why we even drafting him, and others all coming up next. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a quick drink. It's an absolute ritual, a lifeline, a thing that gets you half asleep to fully functional, which this guy right here definitely needs it 3 cups of coffee a day. And it's an essential, right? Why settle for anything less than amazing, right? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the US, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're into cold brew, fan, or of pour over, I don't even know what kind of coffee it is, but it sounds fancy. They have a roast for you that you'll always love. They have options. Let's put it that way. The coffee was fresh. It smelled amazing. And honestly, it ruined the grocery store coffee for me in all the best ways. So quite honestly, I mean, if you're buying the grocery store brand, you're doing yourself a disservice anyway. I love their prices are comparable to grocery store brands, which that is amazing. But the flavor is a whole different level. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off. Repeat, 50% off your first month's trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That is TRADE.com/lockedon for 50% off your first month's trial. Look, drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. And quite honestly, look, if you're a coffee advocate like me, this is the program for you. Coffee never running out, never having to go to the grocery store again for it being delivered to your front step. Sounds like God at work. All right. So look, you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast. You want to get on that inside track and become a member of the Diamond Club. You want to get call-up alerts. You want to get rankings to the waiver wire episodes so you know who to prioritize and who's the one that you're going to want to target the most. You want to ask us questions and get a response in 24 hours. You want anything of the sort that has to do with fantasy baseball that you're just not getting in the 30 minutes a day, which we do provide a lot, but there's more. So check us out. Links in the description below. And guess what? We're also offering a free 2 weeks. So don't miss out on that. But okay, I've talked enough, and we can all hear I'm super excited from bashing Michael Harris. So Dom, let's move on. I chugged my water bottle and I already need another one. Oh,
Yeah, so I think we'll agree. I think we'll be in harmony on this next guy anyway. It's Brent Doyle, those Colorado Rockies, right? And Matt and I were a lot lower than the rest of the fantasy baseball community. We had him a lot ranked, lower. And he's just having a bad year, off to a tough start. 46 games, 214 batting average, 16 walks to 45 strikeouts, 6 steals is okay, 5 homers, only 16 runs and 21 RBIs, 7 doubles is all right. I didn't buy into the breakout year for the 26-year-old last year, 27 this year. Has an okay minor league track record, not great, doesn't really blow you away. He had never even, touched 30 steals in the minors, like he did last year, the 23 homers that he had last year, only had 1 season over 20 in the minors. Just don't buy it. Even the underlying stuff last year didn't back a lot of the stuff he was doing, and it's starting to look a little bit similar this year and worse in some areas, right? The speed's legit. If the guy gets on base, he's going to steal some bags. He's very fast. I don't buy into the power, except when he's playing in cores, that there's definitely that. Don't buy into the 260 batting average last year. I think it's going to be a lot closer to 245-ish, maybe even 240. And the Rockies team just isn't good. I apologize, to any Colorado Rockies fans out there. There's really nobody else in that lineup. I mean, Tovar and Goodman slowed down a lot. It's just not a good team to be on. And if you could still sell this guy, do it, but don't be afraid to drop him. In a couple of leagues that I play in, he's been dropped. Bigger leagues too, he's been dropped and nobody's picked him up. So I think it's safe at this time. Maybe if you're playing a 15 or an NL only, you still might hold just because the speed power combo. But he's not going to give you runs or RBIs. The batting average isn't going to be helping you. And I feel like he could do better on the waiver wire at this point. I'll drop it like a Tato meter. I want to say 7.5, and try and trade him now while there's still any value left.
Yeah, I mean, I got yelled at actually the last time I brought this up by a fan saying, "Oh my God, he's got stuff going on in his personal life." And I understand too. It's some horrific stuff. But here's the deal: I'm here to play fantasy baseball, and I drafted a guy that is truly not playing well for me. And with what's going on in his life, it may not be this year that he recovers, and we need to think about ourselves. And I feel bad for the guy, and I pray for him and his family. But we got to now focus on our fantasy leagues. Okay. Brent Doyle is a guy that was going off the board at pick 25 overall at the position at outfield. Now, Dom and I had him ranked in the 30s. I think Dom had him lower than me. I'm at 35 because he was just right on that fringe of I was willing to take that shot, but that shot is dead. And we all kind of weren't sure if that was going to be a thing. And we never really drafted him in mock drafts for a reason. We didn't really think that this was going to be the year, let alone even if this wasn't going on, I don't think he would still live up to the hype. So he is a drop, maybe a trade. If you get a Rockies fan or you got that guy in your league, then, trade it to that guy. Other than that, see you later. He's a flat out drop. Now let's move on. Let's talk about Matt Chapman. Okay. Matt Chapman is a guy that is just not playing well at the moment. And people are wondering, should I drop him? Should I not? And I made a joke right before the break because I wanted to keep you around. But no, there's a reason why you draft him. The guy's got power and, he's pretty much just, O'Neal Cruz not O'Neal Cruz, Nelson Cruz with, a little bit better batting average and less ribbies. So him playing for the San Francisco Giants limits his ribbing potential, but at the same time, I think there's still some power. Yeah, he's hitting 224 right now, but whatever. He's going to end the season with 240 to 250 batting average. That's just Matt Chapman. He's going to hit a bunch of home runs. He has 9 on the season right now, and there's going to be a time where he's just one of the hottest players in baseball, just crushing the ball. So I'm not dropping him, especially with third base being so shallow right now, and there's not a lot of third basemen out there that you're going to be able to get off the waiver wire to replace him. So I'm just going to pretty much just ride it. And if I have a backup, like I was lucky enough to pick up like a Shaw, who's performing pretty nicely coming back into the MLB after being recalled, or maybe who else did I just pick up recently at third base? Like if you're lucky to get Young, if you were listening to then, there's guys out there that you could truly go out and just, replace or start over him until he starts catching fire again. I think it's coming. So for me with Chapman, he's a hold. I can't drop him.
Matt, actually perfectly said. I pretty much want to say the same thing here. Chapman's just been the same guy for like 3 out of the last 4 years, 27 home runs, 3 out of the last 4 years, 70 plus RBIs, 3 out of the last 4 years, 240 batting average, 3 out of the last 4 years. We know 39 doubles the last 2 years in a row. You're going to get exactly who he is. I think he's not going to touch the 98 runs he had last year. But listen, could he still have 80 RBIs and 80 runs, hit 27 bombs, and steal you over 10 bags with a 240 batting average? Of course he can. And he's, if you're not watching on the tubes, Matt's giving you the okay there because, yeah, that's exactly what he is. He's okay. He's going to help your team. I wouldn't drop him. And he's another guy, if you could buy low on him, especially in those deeper leagues, I think that's going to pay off for you. But before we move on and we sneak in this last bat, and then it's closers galore, and a couple of Arizona Diamondbacks starting pitchers that are struggling. Those names coming up next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, let's jump back in. We'll make this the last guy quick for you guys, and then we'll move into the pitchers. It's Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs. I feel like he's, I don't want to say a Matt Chapman light, because, they're very similar kind of players. They're going to give you a good amount of pop. It's that 20-plus homers, that 10-plus steals, decent runs and RBIs. That Cubs team's pretty good. And then Ian Happ's going to hit like 245. Actually, they're the same guy. It's literally the same guy, guys. And then Happ is on a better team. So I don't even want to spend too much time on it. I want to get into these pitchers. So I'm going to say hold on Ian Happ for now because we just know who he is. Just go look at who he was. Once again, it's eerily similar to Matt Chapman. He's pretty much the same guy 3 out of the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, Happ is Happ, right? It's just happening, and not to put some wordplay on it, but it is what it is, right? Like, the Cubbies are so good this year. I just want a piece of everything. So, do not drop Happ. If somebody offers you Happ, and it's not some like ridiculous, stupid, trade, find a way to get him on your team because that means he's available. Because I think there will come a point in the season where he just has a month to remember. It's not going to be a full season. It's going to be months at a time. And that's really just how it's going to be. You're going to be really, really happy, and then he's going to flop. And then you're going to be really, really happy, and he's going to flop. But you want him on your team for those big peak moments. That's really all he is. Let's move on. Let's talk about pitching now. So about Ryan Walker, the ex-closer for the San Francisco Giants. He just lost his job to Camilo Doval. So what does that mean? I only got one thing for you.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Look, we kind of called this a couple weeks ago. Hey, be aware, Ed Duvall, looks like Ryan Walker can't hold this job down. I feel like South Park. He took my job, So, Ryan Walker just lost his job, and that's really just about it. It wasn't like he was like the perennial talent. He was some guy from left field, truthfully, that we didn't expect him to hold down the job and have the season he did last year. So for me or Ryan Walker, I'm not stashing him. He's just a flat out drop. Duvall was the guy to add. Might even still be available in some leagues. Let me look for you real quick. Duvall, here we go. He's available in, 48% of leagues. So he's out there. So, I mean, he's the guy to add right now. And the guy to drop is Ryan Walker. Even if you don't have Ryan Walker, add Duvall because, now he's going to get the save opportunities, even though Giants aren't good enough for, that many saves this year. But sorry, Asher. But it's one of those things where Ryan Walker just is done. So see you later. Nice knowing you. But
yeah, Matt, not really too much else to add there except 10 out of 10 on the drop-o-meter for Ryan Walker. Literally, if he is on your team, you need to go search for another save option if you unless you have a bunch backed up. You got to go either pick up Duvall if he's available or find somebody else because Walker's time is done here, at least closing in San Francisco. Let's move on to this next guy who's a bit more interesting. It's Tanner Scott of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Another guy that kind of I wasn't too big on this spring just because I knew there was going to be a lot of competition in that bullpen. And, Scott, it looked pretty great at the beginning of the season. But the thing is, he's struggled mightily of late. And Kirby Yates is on his way back. Kopech's on his way back. I'm not sure. Trinan might be on his way back at some point soon, too. I'm not familiar with exactly what's going on with Trinan, but I know Kopech and Yates are on the way back at some point soon. And it's not that Scott won't get any saves. It's that it might become a committee. Let's see. I think it's 3 out of his last 5 outings for Scott have been atrocious, like really, really bad, especially like even this last one on the 28th, blew the save against the Guardians, who aren't a great team, gave up 4 runs, 3 hits, and a walk over 2/3 of an inning. This isn't going to play, especially for a Dodgers team that has better options coming back. And, they need to win games. They're the Dodgers. Not a drop. This is a great time that you catch somebody lacking and like, oh, the Dodgers closer, I'll take them. And it's a trade. So unless you're like in an 8-man league where it's just super shallow, and I know we got some guys, some listeners out there who, might be in that situation. Yeah, if it's an 8-man, I'd probably drop Scott because there's probably another closer out there available. But anything deeper than that, you're holding, and you're probably looking to trade Scott while the value's still there. Because if he keeps pitching like this, And I want to preface this. Scott hasn't been a lockdown guy his whole career. The last 2 years for Scott have been locked down. If you look at back recent as 2022, 4.31 ERA for over 62 innings for Scott. 2021, 62 games, 5.17 ERA. This guy has not been locked down his whole career, far from. I just think there's going to be better options. So if you do have Scott, it's time to at least look into trading him.
Yeah, I mean, he still carries some weight. So, I mean, trade is a better option than letting him go. I like Scott. I got really excited when he got traded there, but, then they started bringing in everybody else, and it was like, really? I feel like it's him going to another team all over again. It's just ruining him. It is what it is. He just wasn't able to hold it down this year, and I'm more disappointed than anything else. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm done getting upset over this. I'm just going to move on. Let's talk about Jeff Hoffman, another closer for the Toronto Blue Jays. So he's just been performing really bad as of late. And, I think we need to just have a conversation of, what to expect moving forward. So last year when he played for the Phillies, he was a little inconsistent at times. And we're seeing this at the beginning of the season instead of the second half like we saw with the Phillies last year, where he just has a couple blow up games, but he normally handles himself really well. So he's never going to be this sub 3 ERA, I think, closer at the end of the day. But he's a guy that I think could finish with at least a K per inning, or if not a little bit more, because that's what he's showing off right now. 35 strikeouts to 24 innings pitched with already 12 saves on the season. And yes, the ERA is completely in the toilet, but I'm holding because one, the Blue Jays are really good, and it's just one of those things where the opportunities are just going to be there. And two, I don't think he's losing his spot. There's nobody there today that I could say, oh, okay, they could take the job, or oh, they're giving save opportunities to anybody else. They haven't. I go on every site that says, that kind of gives me a reference of, how secure is his job, and he has a long leash in everywhere that I'm reading. So Hoffman is the guy they brought in. Hoffman is the guy they paid. So therefore, Hoffman's going to get all the save opportunities for this year, unless we see at the trade deadline they acquire another closer, and then we then revisit this conversation. But Hoffman is a keep.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I honestly think he's my favorite guy to buy low on today. The stuff has still been really good for Hoffman. Just needs to get a little bit more movement, especially on that split finger. It's been killing him this year. And, batters hit 195 against the split finger last year. They're hitting 278 against it this year. Huge change in the other direction. I think if Hoffman figures that out, he's going to be fine. The whip is great. He has 12 saves. He has 35 strikeouts at 24 innings. A couple blow up, blown save chances that got the ERA up over 5. So if you could buy low at all on Hoffman, I think he's my favorite guy on the episode to do so on. Let's move on to our only starting pitcher of the day. Oh no, actually one of two Arizona Diamondbacks starting pitchers. Forgive me there. First one's Zac Gallen. Their supposed ace. Just been really bad this year, and I'll be honest. Not that I was super high on Gallen because I don't own him anywhere, but he was somebody who I did like this year. Somebody that I did want to, get a share or two of. Happy I didn't. He's up to a 5.55, a 5.54 ERA, 140 WHIP, a K per 9 at 66 innings, 66 strikeouts. But just as you look at the, last 3 starts have been really bad. Only has one over 10 strikeout game this season. He has a 13 strikeout game, which came on April 2nd, and then he had an 8 strikeout game on May 1st. Other than that, nothing over 6. Just hasn't been interesting, man. And he's been killing you in whip. He's been killing you in ERA. I can't say drop him because he's just the talent for him to turn it around is still there. But we've seen this version of Zac Gallen before. It's not like we haven't seen him do this for a full year. I still think he's young enough, at 29 that, still in that back end of the prime of his career, but nothing is backing him up in the underlying stats, man. There's nothing there that's giving me any indication that this guy's going to bounce back. Not a drop, but a trade for sure. And like I've been saying, those 8-man leagues, yeah, drop him there because you definitely got better options off the waiver wire. Nobody's picking up in that kind of format. But anywhere else, man, you're probably going to have to hold unless you could trade him for something. And, I'd trade him. You can shoot us on subtext for exact. I apologize, on the insider track for any specific scenarios where you want to get rid of Gallen. But man, I'm just kind of out. I'm really done with him. I want to trade him for 60 cents on the dollar right now.
You're not even getting 60 cents. He's a hold. You're beat. You just got to stick it out and hopefully turns it around, but everything's flat. And I'll give you a last thing because I want to get to this last guy because I just want to play the drop of all things. Essentially, he's already given up 10 home runs on the season. Last year, he gave up a grand total of 13. So he's already you're already seeing the effects of the flat pitches and things like that. It's only going to get worse unless he gets sent down to correct some things. But let's move on. I really want to do this because it's the first time. Brandon Pfaadt. Okay, Brandon Pfaadt.
I'm fired.
Yes, that's the only reason why I want to do this, and the only reason he made this podcast today. Brandon Pfaadt has been playing like absolute fart. Like it's just been bad. On the season, he has a 3.90 ERA, which is fine. But the last month, a 5.4 ERA. Over the last 2 weeks, a 4.63. He just getting lit up. St. Louis lit him up, which he should be handling better. Dodgers handle himself okay, but how do you go 6 innings and not get a single strikeout? Goes to San Francisco, gets lit up for 9, handles the Dodgers nicely, but then Philly lights him up. It's just been so inconsistent. We had a couple good starts in between, but I don't trust this kid as far as I could throw him. He was a top end prospect and just hasn't lived up to the hype. The Arizona fans probably want to yell at me, and I don't really care. I'm pretty much out. Drop him.
Yeah, man, I'm done. I'm done with Pfaadt too. You could pretty much, unless you're in an NL only or a 15, you probably hold him in those scenarios. But anywhere else, you could feel free to drop Pfaadt. But guys, that was all.
I'm fired.
And with that being said, guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you do that, go check out our boy Sully over on Locked On MLB. Make him your second listen each and every day. But guys, until next time, sorry.
Peace.
I'm fired. I'm fired.